Hey everyone, here we are again, our third week. My name is Renata Langna, and I'm here with my co host.
Hi everyone, this is Patricia. Week
Yes,
3, excited?
and we are here for week three. Today is a big topic. We're talking about acceptance. So I hope you guys are enjoying this weekly or bi weekly or, in any unexpected time release of these videos called Conversation from the Heart. And I just want to say thank you so much for tuning in. We really, truly appreciate to have this platform to connect with you. And let's hop into our topic today, Patricia.
Hmm.
So, acceptance, I think, especially given the time, nowadays, how life is approaching us and asking us so much of us. There's such a space to grow. Acceptance is an appropriate topic. So, how are you in the acceptance department? Acceptance department, Patricia.
Um, I'm a bit shocked at, there's this wonderful text where there's a line that always resonates with me where it says, the spiritual life is not a theory, we need to live it. And my teacher would say, oftentimes, one of my teachers would be quoted 99% practice, 1% theory. So now we have this fertile ground for practicing whatever it is we might be aware of in terms of detaching or accepting things the way they are. And I'm shocked at myself that you have all this knowledge, and yet when you actually have to apply it, despite the amount of years, it's difficult to do. So that's kind of what brought Renata to me with this inquiry of how can we plant some seeds, hopefully for all of you, to first of all have compassion for ourselves in the difficulty of what is required to accept situations that feel unacceptable, and what maybe there are some tools, or maybe just Renata and I can individually share our own experiences as to how we deal with things that feel unacceptable.
Yeah.
So
Just,
I'm some days I do well, some days I don't do so well.
and then we have to accept that.
Exactly. So do
So,
you?
um, the way that I was thinking about this last night, it's thinking a little bit about our expectation and how do we get entangled with so many different ideas of who we are and who we should be in a very broad sense of our experience here. And in my experience, every time that I get caught up between what my heart is saying and what the external outside of me is saying about who I am and who I should be, I find that resistance. I find there is friction there. And often I inquired, um, what would it be if I could just accept not what's pushing me out of my peace, but what if I could accept what's coming from inside of me? What would happen if I truly create space to listen? Because it's really required the soul faculty, like the art of listening. That's not just here in the physical ears, right? It's like your soul have to be present. You have to create the environment, the quietness, or maybe the pliability, the relaxed state that is enough for us to receive. And that's what, acceptance brings a lot in me is the idea of releasing, the idea of surrendering into what's true. And now it's really interesting the times that we are living, because what's true for me is not necessarily what's vibrating true for you. And we tend to kind of compare notes. I think we spoke about this in our first, in the self-care conversation, but it's coming up again and again, and probably going to come up throughout our conversations. Is that we get to compare notes. What my inner knowing is telling me about COVID is one thing. What my inner knowings about telling me about elections is one thing. What my inner knowing, the bigger part of myself that can see things that Renata yet cannot comprehend, is telling me something about life. And what if I could accept that my my work here is not to transcend this body, this existence, but transcend the separation between the spiritual life, as you just said, and everything I do. Because we get to sit and meditate, and some of us call movement spiritual practice. And then when we're done, we hop right back into the news, or we hop right back into the addiction, or we hop right back into the distraction. And a part of us is like longing, it keeps longing, right? So it's like talking about acceptance. It's we can pick different parts of our lives and kind of dissect what is acceptance in your diet. What would require you to do? What is acceptance in terms of your career? What are you meant for in this lifetime? Now, what is acceptance in health? Or we can say, at least the way I approach, or I have been approaching, and is ever unfolding, right? It's always unfolding. So there's to be continued. What I'm going to describe is the ability to trust again. We lost the ability to trust ourselves. We lost the ability to be. We forgot. We forgot to be. And if we think that there is something outside of us that needs to control all these areas of our lives, and if we try harder, if we get like the best computer with the color that we want, everything's going to be okay. And I'm saying about the computer because Patricia and I were just talking. So why don't you share a little bit about, your unconscious story about this computer until it became conscious, obvious for you?
I first just have to say that as those of you who are on this, viewing this right now, Renata's a very special human being, and every time I listen to you, I get moved because I'm reminded, that's what's important about coming together. So you have someone else remind you that we have forgotten how to trust, and how we have forgotten how to trust ourselves because of what you started your beautiful dialogue with, which is expectation. So Renata and I are chuckling about the computer because back in April, my computer died and there was a pandemic. So Apple, you couldn't go to the store. You had to order a computer online, and it'll take about 2 months to get the computer. So I'm teaching on my phone, Zoom, which if you know what that's like, it's interesting at best to see yourself in a square this big. So I finally got a new computer. The computer arrived, and the brand new computer was not working properly. So I had to send that one back. Then I got my next computer, and the computer is fine, but then my host company, the server was not working. So I can't send or retrieve emails. So I wake up every day for the past 3 mornings, to over 8,000 emails that say mail delivery system failure from people I've never heard of. People are trying to use my email. So it's been a really serious source of stress. And all of what Renata just said has been coming into play because I watch myself with frustration. Like, I have to get control over this. I have to figure out a way. I have to eat something to chew away my anger. I have to yell at someone. I have to tell everybody how bad it is. And then very low on the totem pole was, no, you have to accept this. Accept it. So that's what Renata and I were discussing, these 3 A's: awareness, acceptance, action. So it took me, to be quite honest, I'm sorry to say, because I know ahimsa is a theory or a word that I try to live by, which means do no harm to anyone. Well, the poor woman on the phone got really, let's just say I was not very pleasant when she said,
how about your own blood pressure?
Thank you so much for being patient. And my response was, I am not patient. And I was literally really yelling at her. And that's when I realized, oh, Santosha, this other concept. The word is such a beautiful word. It means contentment. And I remember when I first heard it, I was like, what the hell is that supposed to mean? And when I would teach about it, people would say, how can you be content if you're in an abusive relationship, or you're a battered wife, or if your boss is abusive? And I said, it's not complacency, it's contentment. It is basically a word that means this is how it is when things are good, and this is how it is when things are not good. What are you going to do about it? Have the awareness to say, right now, you are very stressed because your attachment to the technology is causing you frustration. And what's underlying that for me always is fear. No one's going to know where I am. I'm not going to be able to be found. I'm going to miss something. What if I miss an email from someone who I need to get? If it's meant to be, and there's where the trust comes in. If someone needs to find me, they will. So the awareness is first. I'm afraid. I'm not getting something that I want. Things are not the way I want them to be. This person's not doing what I want them to do. Fix it. I actually yelled at her. Fix it. Fix it. So I watched myself, and then I moved a little bit into awareness, from awareness to acceptance. Oh, look at you. You're not happy about the way things are right now because you're afraid. And then I took an action. I stepped away from the computer. I put it down, and I just said, I'm not going to worry about this right now. I'm going to let it go. And in those moments that we think are not available to us because we have jobs that we don't like, and we have 2 kids pulling on our skirt tail, whatever it is, they are available for us in moments, pockets of time. I stepped away, and I let my central nervous system drop down a few notches. And I prayed a little bit, whatever you want to call it. I prayed, I meditated, I said, please help me to accept this. There's that lovely prayer that many people in 12-step programs, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. And then it evokes courage to change the things that we can. And then it asks for wisdom. And for me, the wisdom to the difference between those two comes from my relationship with my dear friend Renata. She reminds me, oh, you have to trust. Or if you have a God of your understanding that you pray to, pause for a moment and know that the universe is going to figure it out. And that's, I think, also what I started to think about too. When I'm in that state of, let's just face it, I'm self-absorbed. I'm not thinking of anybody else in that moment.
All of us.
So when I am self-absorbed and when I am not accepting, I cannot be of service. So as soon as I put the computer down, because I knew I was going to talk to my dear friend here, I started to think about all the other things that people have to accept that they might not like. Like they own a restaurant right now and no one's coming. So they might have to close the restaurant that they had for 30 years. Or someone they love has COVID. Or someone they love died from cancer. Or they have a sick child. And I thought, oh, I'll take my broken computer. So the thing that helps me when I am feeling unable to accept my circumstances, which, don't get me wrong, again, it's not, if we double back to the word santosha, I'm not being complacent about it. I'm still really pissed off, and I will find a way to make this work out eventually. But it is not the worst problem in the world. And so when I can accept, I can then have compassion for myself. And then I can start again doing what people that do what we do are supposed to do, which is serve others. So
Yeah.
in a way, not accepting for me, it's a strong word, but when I don't accept what's happening, I'm being selfish because I'm saying to the universe, it's supposed to be different. It's like when one last thing I'll say, my mother, who I loved dearly, had no tools, and my dad died. He retired from his job that he worked at diligently for over 40 years. They were going to China, they were going to Europe, they were doing all this traveling, and 1 year after he retired, he died from cancer. So my mother's mantra was, that was not supposed to happen. She would literally say that. And I would say, but Mom, it did. She never moved into acceptance. 7 years later, she died from cancer. So the resistance to accepting can make us sick.
For sure. It's almost like the physical body is telling us what we're not accepting. The physical body is telling us what's happening in the external, right? And I feel like, yeah, in every movie, in every novel, in every myth, in every fairy tale, the theme is we looking for happiness. We trying to find a place that we can call home so that we can surrender and let go. And we are home. We are home, right? So we can never really be lost, but our perception is what detach us and dislocate us. The perception that we are not life itself dislocates us a little bit and sometimes a lot. And as far as you go is where you feel the discomfort, right? And I'm not saying that, and we had this conversation too, Patricia. Sometimes when I get into this idea of learning how to be a receiver, have people say, well, so you don't do anything? You just sit and do anything? And, in society right now, well, first of all, there is no society until we learn how to create reverence and what is the word? It's not respect, but it's acknowledge the feminine. There will be no civilization. And to acknowledge that the feminine within us is the power to direct us wherever we want to go. And right now, our civilization is lost. We are lost because we have lost our way into relaxation, lost our way into trusting again, lost our way into the part of us that knows. But I want to say something about this. Two things, actually. One is that the external excavation, right? Because it feels like almost like looking for something and you keep going and excavating and looking leads to exhaustion because it's never really ending. It never really ends because the perception is that, okay, if I drop this, then I pick another thing. And sometimes before we drop one, we already have the other. Oh, no. It's not the computer. I got it. Patricia is saying, okay, it's not the computer. But guess what? Is the next Zoom or is the next phone thing that I'm gonna do? It's the next. And we keep hopping to the next. And that is not to say that there isn't something for us to do. But the mindset that's creating this next, not coming from here. And I think I've shared this with you. I don't know, Patricia, maybe let me know if I did, or sometimes it's nice to repeat as well. I watch a documentary about the heart, the power of the heart. And what they would do is they display pictures, random pictures, and they record the feeling that the pictures create in the body, in the nervous system. And some of the pictures would be like the sunset, a child smile, and some pictures would be like death or something really graphic, or something scary. And the person would watch, and this starts to go a little bit slower as the person watches. The flipping of the images starts to get a little bit slower. And what they realize by their heart rate and by the nervous system is that the heart picked up what was going to come up before the image came up. But mind you, it was random. There was no way that the mind would know what was coming up before it came up. But that somehow that the heart, there is a coherence of the heart with everything and anything in this universe. And that the people would have a reaction just a millimeter of a second before the picture was revealed. And that was for me like, wow, mind-boggling. Can I step into my heart right now? And can my heart tell me something about what my mind doesn't know? And the answer is yes, 100% of the time. Now, how do we get here? Well, we've been trained not to listen to the heart, to be the doer of it all. It's like you said, we think we know best, and we're going to show the universe how much we know. And that's what we are seeing out there. This mess, it's us. It's all of us, And here's the thing that is so important, and at the same time is what is an obstacle for us, is that if we accept, that's the word, if we accept that there is such a life that we can live in our hearts, that we can know everything because we're in coherence, then we also have to give up everything that we have learned, and maybe the way we're approaching life in this moment. And that is a big step. And I feel like what life is asking us is to take this huge leap into consciousness. Not tomorrow, right? What do you say?
One step at a time.
Yeah, but there is a door, there is an opening. I feel like there is always a door. Yes. There's always an opening. But because we're being so pressed, and because we have seen in so many facets of what we have created, the dysfunction and the unsustainability, is that a word? Mm-hmm. We have no other option but say, stop, wait. And then the work is not to shift who is the chef, is not to shift, which, I don't know, legislation, is to go inside and to make a reform, an internal reform. Because quite frankly, if all of us had at least a practice to unsubscribe to what's creating resistance, because resistance is nothing but the inside saying, that's not it. That's not it. Because the knowing is always there, and you can deny that, Patricia. And I don't think any of you watching this today can deny that the knowing is there. And so when we are doing things that doesn't feel good, is the separation. from that knowing and the doing. So once we become aware, the first A, oh, I have this awareness that there is a bigger part of me that actually knows everything that I cannot catch up yet because I haven't developed. Because I feel like if we actually take that leap of consciousness and flip on the other side, new generations will have a lot easier stepping stool to move on to. Oh, really? The school doesn't have to be this thing that we are separated by age and that we are to learn certain things that so that we can be categorized as we grow up into the bottom, middle, or top. Oh, what do you mean there is no agenda? Because agenda is what creates a lot of resistance. Agenda, having an agenda. Life itself have no agenda but to evolve. And that I don't know about you, Patricia, but I don't think it's 5G. I don't think it's another gadget. I really don't think it's a even like a new person in power. I don't see that way. And
Yeah.
when I do subscribe to that thought, I feel that resistance. I notice like, oh, I'm going back into, what has been done, and what has been done is just showing me that it's not. So sometimes something have to crumble. And just to tap back into where I started, the first is awareness. And then the second A, it's the acceptance. Is it so that perhaps us as society, as civilization, have failed in putting love in the first place? And what a great realization that could be for us to say, yeah, I have. Haven't you? Haven't we? So what do we have to do? Go back to love. Because the remembering back is where transformation takes place. And then is the third A, action from a different place without attachment. Because when we receive that sweet nectar of message, it's not really ours. So there's no Renata name sign in the bottom. It's just like carrying something forth. There's less suffering. There's a lot of acceptance. It's a difficult, it's a difficult concept just because we've been trained. But once we understand that we are here to receive what's already in, the practice is the opposite of patriarchy. It's the opposite of pushing harder. It's learning how to trust, learning to receive, learning how to be again.
Yeah. And thank you. That was beautiful. It's also, you had said the inability to know how to trust. That's where compassion comes in, that there's no doing this perfectly. There's moments of surrender. You mentioned it a bunch of times where you said that we're practicing trusting yourself again.
Yeah.
It is a practice because of the conditioning that we have been living with the school systems and governments and whatever. There's so much conditioning that it's not going to all of a sudden evaporate. It's taking small steps, catching yourself when you're, you said something about diet. Diet's always a good place to discuss how this manifests itself. You see people that say, oh, I actually heard these women the other day. I was getting some takeout and they were saying they were getting like whatever they were getting, chocolate fudge brownies, and they're like, oh well, we're starting on Monday. So this idea of, first of all, they're not even enjoying it because they're doing it with so much guilt and shame. And then they're not in the day because they're thinking about, I used to work at a gym. I taught yoga and people would be running on the treadmill going, well, that's 650 calories. There's the pizza for tonight. Like they're exercising at 12 noon so they can eat their pizza, which in that moment, we're not in the moment when we're doing that. So when I was listening to you so intensely, and I got to be reminded of the fact that this all stems from the inability to be present. Because in order to trust your heart, before your mind kicks in, you have to be present for that.
Absolutely.
And that it is a choice. I said to Renata before we got on the screen, which I said I wasn't going to say, but I made a joke about how is it that so quickly when I am putting my well-being into something external, that it crashes and burns so fast. I was jokingly saying to Renata, can I just have like a minute where I get my well-being from outside? And years of the practice, it happens quickly where I go, oh, shoot, where's your faith? Where's your, where are you coming from? And we seem to reference a lot or frequently the Course in Miracles, where there's really only two emotions. And I had said beginning with the computer when it wasn't working, I had fear. So what's the opposite of being in fear? It's being in love, not in love with my boyfriend, but being in the energy of love. And it might not transfix everything. Well, actually, it changes everything in the moment. It does. Let's do that for a practice. Just think about the word fear. Literally put yourself in fear for a moment. Conjure up all your worst fears. I mean, the deep down, dirty, nasty ones. And feel how your body responds to that. And then make the conscious decision to be in love, in the energy of love. And feel your central nervous system, your cellular structure. Feel your body respond to that. And what Renata was talking about and what we're offering today is that in every moment, in every situation, that's the choice we have. Whether it's someone's taking their last breath, you lost your job. And I guess I want to also just say, which Renata and I also try to remind you guys, this does require discipline and action. This is not just, oh, I'm in love. No, if you lost your job due to COVID or whatever, our human response is probably going to be, oh, shoot. And then what? What happens for me is practicing this way shortens the time that I stay in fear. Because I know better. I know that this is happening for some reason that I might not fully understand. And the brain doesn't like that. The brain wants, like you said, classify it. I want to know what's the next degree. The heart knows, oh, okay. Like a long story, my business that I owned in a house with a mortgage payment was getting too expensive. I had to sell. And now during this time, I'm very grateful that I don't have $6,500 a month that I have to pay for. So we don't always know when it's happening. And that goes back to Renata's wonderful, I'm going to really take that with me today. The idea and the ability to trust. And it's sometimes blind faith, right? Julia Cameron from The Artist's Way says, leap and the net will follow.
Well, because we are life itself, there's no way we can make a mistake. The shadow part of us may think that we are making lots of mistakes, but at the level of our soul, there's no way we can make mistake because we can't. We cannot. So from that principle, when you were saying about trust, it really is to trust when life is good, right? It's really the work is to trust when we're sick, when we lost our house, when we're being abused. Not to accept, to continue to be abused. That's not what I'm saying. But to trust that that situation is exactly what we need. And in the beginning of the conversation, before we were talking about the expectations and what we receive out of life, right? We have this expectation. Guess what? I'm 47 years old, North America, you should have this and this and this and this milestones accomplished. That's what's out there. Where are you on that timeline? Are you doing okay? Because if you're not putting up with those, expectations of society, there is a energetic conditioning that's looking at you like, poor baby, can't help you with anything. But how about if I can trust my government right now? How about that I can trust conspiracy theory? Trust. How about that I can trust that exactly what's going to happen? It's what we need. And we can go, no, what are you talking about? I come from a place that I know a lot of work has to be done to change something. Yeah. You can be there and you can live that truth and push through for 10 minutes, 10 days, 10 years, 10 lifetimes. But I guess what? Life wins 100% of the time. Reality wins 100% of the time. Because where we are right now, it's exactly where we need to be. But not so that we can go back to sleep or go to our phone or go have some pot or go, just so that we can really, the contrast is showing us the more things that we want to do other than what that is. It's here to show a contrast of our living. And again, when something needs to crumble and fall, there is some pains and aches with that. Right? Part of us have to moan. There is aches and pains, and I think that's what we're watching. We are in it.
Yeah.
Right? But what is on the other side? What if we could just like close our eyes and dream with a different kind of civilization? If we could dream with a civilization that, the police is not needed, because when somebody needs clothing, we can give it to them, and they need shelter, we can provide shelter to them, whether it's under my own house or build something for them, like the ancient, like the indigenous people used to say, I don't know your government, I don't know your laws, because here, when people need something, we give to them so they don't have to steal. There's never going to be stealing, because we give, because we take care, because we bring in, because we receive or we accept one another. Yeah, so I think there is a lot of work for us to do. And what Patricia was talking about, practice, is where you are is what you've been practicing for a long time. If you're feeling happy, if you're feeling a purpose, if you're feeling that the universe is actually supporting you, is because you have been practicing this for a long time. If you're feeling a lot of resistance, a lot of discord, a lot of, you know, push and pull, not knowing, it's because you have practiced that for a long time. But the beauty of it is that we can change. It's a choice. And again, I'm going to say, and I really feel like this is what's coming up for me to say here, is that the only way, many different avenues, but the only way we get to receive is to relax. The practice that she just gave us to feel fear and to feel love, it shifts us from a receiver to a receiver, from a doer to a receiver. And if everything that we are throwing into the universe as longing that we want, we don't give ourselves enough space to receive, because it's so guarded. Because I'm going to tell you what's best for you at this time. And we got to brace ourselves, because November is coming, and what's coming. And either way, acceptance is the word here. Either side. I don't know where you are, but either side's going to have to create acceptance. And what we're going to go through is life teaching. It's life teaching. It's going to be transformational. It may not be easy until there is that seed of, oh, the heart knows best. I need to surrender. Um, Patricia and I, we have had our share of things happening. I've heard and I've heard people say, "Oh, it's easy for you yogis to say. It's easy for you guys to say. Look at you guys, you look so healthy and pretty and all of this." But believe me, that there was some share of pain, of truly not understanding, not accepting, mm, not enjoying the ride to drag us here where we are today and being able to talk about this. And it's not something that we don't do every day. Just like Patricia with her computer, I have had so many realizations of stories I've been telling myself. I'm like, oh, drop the story. What will happen? Ooh, I have to practice that. I got that story to drop now, you know. And so, yeah, it becomes easier as we create momentum on that practice
And get support.
and get support. And that's why we're here. It's like, yeah, you can do it in your own, you can do it isolated, but we also can magnify this by coming together, right? And we need to accept our space and where we are and accept that the neighbor may see things in a different way than we do. But that doesn't mean that we're not one, because unity is our home. Is where we really want to come to unite again, to come together again. Yeah.
Amen.
You have anything else to say about acceptance? Besides that, we are receiving grace right now in every single moment of our life, whether we are on the top of the wave or we are crashing down. It is grace, and it's never not grace. Do you have anything else to say,
I
Patricia?
guess just to try practicing what we've discussed today, just in your week coming. Just practice it, notice it. Notice what it means to you when you're feeling fear to switch to love. What you say to yourself. Does it feel like you're copping out or failing if you don't go on your mission? Just note all of it and have compassion for yourself.
Now, talking about meditation, Patricia, why does in so many regards, whether it's diet related, physical illness, whether it is mental anxiety, whatever, there is one thing that seems like show up across the board, and is meditation. So, would you like to say something about why is meditation prescribed for so many different conditions?
In 2 minutes or less, um, I think what meditation does, if I may just stem off what you said, is it creates a space where the brain can quiet down so that you can listen to your heart. And you can literally, I mean, I've been meditating for so long that I can literally feel at one point, generally, when I meditate, I feel the corners of my mouth turn up and I feel the dopamine production. And it's as if it's like this little spray of feel good energy that just like manna from heaven falls over my body.
This is so amazing what she just described. It's so interesting because I kind of have the same feeling. And the idea is that in that moment, when you actually, like, let's say you're meditating for 20 minutes a day and you got 3 minutes or two, that you actually drop. You
Yeah.
drop. And in that moment, there's a receiver. It's like heart open. So it's almost like everything we're talking about here in a 2 minute experience. And if we create momentum with that space that Patricia just said becomes wider, longer, right? When
And
you see life from a spiritual perspective, we understand that this lifetime is one day in our existence. It's one day. And I can say, I know everything about this day and needs to go my way because I grew up and I went to college and I have all this PhD and I have all of this to prove you that I know more than some of you that don't have the education that I do. And in this day, we need to act this way. Or we can say, there's always another day and another day and another day forever. And if we could just like lose the grip a little bit.
I would add, just if you are the person that is very cerebral and academic or whatever it is, don't be afraid, because the pockets of time that you create, I always say we treat our technology better than we treat our own selves. When your computer is running low and it suggests you shut it down so that it functions better, it can store more information. So the meditation, for those of you that are afraid of it or confused by it, because this is supposed to be important, the functioning of the brain is better after meditation because you have clarity. It's like you just erase the blackboard. Or when you go sit down to do something, your desk is a mess, you're not going to get anything done. So meditation is like organizing your desk. So for those of you that are, intimidated by it, don't worry. Give it a shot. You can always, make a different. That's the action maybe you could take, is try it on for size and see what happens.
There's so many different types of meditation.
Mm.
They are
Maybe
just and
we'll
they are
do.
just trying to get you to pay attention to something else and that for a moment. But the truth is that there's not really much doing at all. You don't have to sit there and say, tell me now, what is my next? Now, tell me now. How about now? It's not really. Yes, you can use a space where you feel expansion to ask for your second step. And that's been my guiding system. I do what I love and I do it all the time. And when I arrive in that space of really gratitude and expansion, I ask, oh, now that I'm here and feel so good because I'm doing what I love, I get to ask, what is next? And there is a little bit of a communication for me. But what we're talking about, the meditation here, is just to unplug and to stop being the doer or thinking that you have to acquire to something else than what you are in order to just experience this extraordinary day and moment. So it's just, don't get caught up into all the different techniques. And yeah, you can go about it. Just like there is a black shirt and there is a green. I can put a red and see how it feels, how it looks. I can put another one. I can put another one. I can put another one. Or better, yeah, I can do warrior 3. I can do warrior 2. I can do headstand. And I can try all these different ways that I can focus. But I can also come to a place that I feel really comfortable and just nothing. And it's, the moment that we force the brain to start thinking, we're doing. So it's not anything forced. It's just about becoming again, becoming into being again.
Learning to trust.
Oh, learning to trust. Well, I trust that, Patricia, you and I are, you know, creating a ripple effect in ourselves because, like you said, when we talk to each other, we get to remind each other, and it's so helpful. But when those instances that happens when people created an artwork or a writing or something like this, and then 20 years later there is a revelation about that art, why they did that art 20 years ago or something like that. It's kind of like, it's very mysterious. And life, it's a mystery. And life transforms, but to be transformed, we need to be malleable, pliable, the least relaxed to be able to transform. We can force it. It's never something we can force upon ourselves. And so, yeah, I think we got like some 40 minutes of this acceptance. And I hope
Thank you.
I hope you watching this accept this for whatever sparks in you, and just really create that radical acceptance for yourself. Because that's the most important, the most valuable thing here is that we accept ourselves exactly how it is, the way it is right now, as grace in itself. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And please reach out. Reach out
Sure.
when you
Patricia's
stumble.
having a hard time with her email.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I might have to
I know. I
reach
realized that we have been, putting your email out there. So
out.
what is
You know,
another way that we can get in touch with you? How about, do you have Instagram? What is your name on Instagram, Patricia?
oh, yeah, I do. It's Patricia M. Yoga.
And what is your name on Facebook, Patricia?
My Facebook is Little Yoga House still.
You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna put below in the description of this video our contact information, so that if you guys wanna,
Yeah,
chat. And
please.
in the future, we opening this up for a live conversation. So if you guys want to be on it with us, yeah, contact us. Let us know, and it'll be our pleasure to add you into
That will
being.
be a lot of fun. We can hear from you guys.
Yay! All right.
Thank you,
So
my dear.
we conclude one more session, Patricia. Mm, I
Thank you.
am I am in total acceptance of our friendship, and I am so grateful. Really
Very
appreciate
grateful.
that.
Same. Me too. Thank you all. Mwah.
Thank you so very much. I hope you have a wonderful day, and see you next time.
Yes. Love to all. Bye.
Bye.